From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm Vasilios. That is Sean Fazende. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. You can find us wherever you listen to and watch your podcast. And if you happen to be watching on YouTube, hit the little bell notification button. You get a notification every time we upload a new podcast. Sean, a lot's happened since the last time we talked on Wednesday in terms of injury report. We know Foster Moreau for the Saints is doubtful. We know Jamal Williams won't be playing. Kendre Miller, we'll get into that a little bit later. And a lot of change on the Packers side of things, too.
Yeah, the injury report has become the story leading up to this game because, generally speaking, when we do our pod on Wednesday, we're getting the first look at the injury situation. For the most part, it stays the same throughout the week, but there was a lot of late adds. There was some injuries during practice, and then there was just a little bit of fluctuation in the injury report. So by the time we got back on this pod today here on Friday evening, things had really changed. And honestly, it can have a significant impact on the Saints defense, in particular the Saints secondary. So let's look at the actual names real quick, and we'll just give the actual injury report as far as the Saints are concerned. Paulson Adebo injured himself in practice. He did not it must have been Thursday because he did not practice on Friday. So if it happened during practice, it must have happened on Thursday. And then Friday, he did not practice. He is listed as questionable. Hugo Amade was limited Thursday in practice, then limited again today with a knee injury. He is also questionable. And, of course, Marcus May is already out with the suspension. So that's three defensive backs that you will not, there's a chance you could not have. Now, we'll see how it develops between Friday and Sunday, because if it changed this much between Wednesday and Friday, certainly it could change between Friday and Sunday. And then, obviously, the rest for the Saints. We knew Jamal Williams was probably going to be out. He is officially out. Foster Moreau, doubtful, which might be a sneaky storyline to watch.
Definitely.
From an offensive standpoint. So, where are we at now as we look at this Saints secondary? I told you the loss of Marcus May could potentially impact their third down defense. Now we've added two more defensive backs to potentially being out of this game. So let's start with that. Marcus May out. Jordan Howden's going to get the start. Defensive coordinator confirmed that to us on Thursday. It makes perfect sense. We understand that he is the next man up. He's a guy they trust. He's been the dime safety. Now he will be their every down safety going into this Packers matchup that they drafted him for.
You guys saw a lot of action in the preseason.
Yeah, he's played well. He's come along quickly. He's a guy that gets it, and it's not always easy to be a safety in this defense because of the versatility required and what you're asked to do, in particular on third down. But if Adebo can't go, my first thought was, okay, we'll just kick Alontae Taylor outside and move Amade up to nickel. Well, if Amade can't go, then you're probably keeping Taylor on the inside and going with a guy like Isaac Yiadom on the outside.
Who has experience on the outside.
And then I think your third safety becomes Lonnie Johnson. Or, you know what, look at the practice squad. I don't know if they still have a chance to do the standard elevation or bring a couple guys up. They do have Abram. They signed Cameron Dantzler to the practice squad as well, and Anthony Johnson and Fayon Hicks are on the practice squad. So that's something to really eyeball as we get closer and closer to kickoff. So I've already established that the Saints have been fantastic on defense, in particular third down defense, 6 out of 26 or whatever it is over the first two games. Part of that is the personnel on third down, and it's the collective of three guys potentially being out there worries you. If you got to replace one, I think you can do that. You got to replace two. You don't love it, but I think you can possibly do that as well. If you got to replace three, yeah, that's something to really monitor going forward, and I think it's just something that the Saints had to be prepared to adjust to, and I'm very curious if they stay in dime on third down. Because that may be a situation where just for this game only, because of who is not available and who may not be available, you may have to tweak what you're doing a little bit on that third down and maybe have to go back to nickel and try to get an extra D lineman on the field, maybe increase that pass rush a little bit, or maybe an extra linebacker that can, blitz or get in coverage. I don't know. But this is enough of a development to at least be curious about that. But in saying that, the Saints are, of the two teams, the least interesting when it comes to the injury report, because the names on the Packers injury report is really something. So let's go through those names right now. You have Bakhtiari, the tackle that we talked about. Like I said before, the offensive lineman's favorite offensive lineman. Hadn't practiced all week. He's officially listed as questionable. Elton Jenkins is out officially. He did not practice all week. Now we get interesting here again, because we talked about Aaron Jones being out on Wednesday. Well, he's been limited the last 2 days, so that's progress. Officially listed as questionable. Again, hamstring injuries are tricky. I don't know how you play it. I mean, with the DB like Paulson Adebo, do you play it one way? With a running back like Aaron Jones, do you play it another way? I don't know. But if he's close to 100% ready to go, that's a weapon.
100%.
He might be arguably their best offensive player. Am I wrong?
No, they have one of the best running back duos in the league, and I mean, if Aaron Jones can go, that just makes a guy like I can't remember their other running back's name for the life of me right now. It's just on the tip of my tongue. But
okay.
Anyway, Dylan.
Okay, AJ yeah,
Dillon.
Right. I got you.
They're a really good change of pace, and Aaron Jones going just makes Dylan that much better.
Yeah. So I mean, if you got the 1-2 punch there, that could certainly be something. And then you have Lucas Van Ness, who was listed as questionable. He was limited all week with an elbow. Christian Watson, who I don't think he's played yet this season.
I don't think so either.
But he's been limited, DMP, limited, officially listed as questionable. This is a lot of, well, maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't. It's a lot of big name what ifs. And then this is interesting too. A late ad, Jair Alexander, officially listed as questionable. He was limited today with a back injury. Zane Anderson, the safety, is officially listed as out. Dude, the injury report is like, that's a lot of development from the start of the practice work week to the finish of practice work week. And it sounds like a few of those guys got banged up during the work week. So that doesn't always happen, but it seemed to be a theme this week throughout the NFL. We saw what happened in Dallas with Trevon, was it Diggs?
Yeah.
That tore his ACL. So, knock on wood, that hasn't happened with the Saints or Packers this week, but it's been an interesting friendly fire type situation for some of these guys on the practice field. But I think all in all, this will have an impact on the game, and the team that adjusts the best without key guys available, without key guys, available to do the very unique things each of these teams likes to do, I think that's something to really watch going forward. I've already been concerned about this game. Big picture reasons why. I've already explained it. The short week, back-to-back road games, late into the night, Monday night, very early start, Green Bay. It's
just not a recipe for success.
I don't know their history from a Monday night on the road to a Sunday early morning or Sunday noon game on the road. It hasn't happened much, but that's something they have to overcome. So of the first 3 games that they've played, I felt very good about Tennessee. I felt extraordinarily good about Carolina. I don't have the same level of confidence in Green Bay. I think this is going to be a tight game, and I understand why the spread is what it is right now.
Now, how do you feel now that we have a little bit of a clearer picture with the injury report? This is their first real test for with an opposing quarterback. Dennis Allen said it in his press conference earlier. He believes that Love leads the league in passer rating, and he has 6 touchdowns on the season. Do you think that even missing those key DBs, the Saints can still manage to stifle that offense a little bit?
If they can get a pass rush. I mean, and look, I think, you still have Lattimore, you still have Tyron, you still have Alante. I mean, it's no secret what Green Bay's going to do if Adebo can't go, who they're going to go after. And the rookie starting, they're going to try to figure out a way to get him isolated some kind of way. But I think you can somewhat disguise that. But I also think the Saints feel like they're worthy of he is worthy for the challenge in Jordan Howden. But like I mentioned before, when there's 3 of them out, just the collective nature of that, I think they could, that could play itself out in the game. And Jordan Love, I think he's pretty smooth, pretty efficient, pretty athletic, but he throws the ball first, runs second, makes good decisions with the football. I think he's well ahead of the curve of where Bryce Young was when they played him last week. So, Yeah, man, this is going to be a challenge. This is not going to be an easy game for the Saints.
No, and we talked about Jamal Williams being out for the Saints on the offensive side of the ball. It is a perfect time for rookie running back Kendre Miller to make his season debut, dropping at the nick of time to help an ailing running back room. How much of an impact do you think he makes in this game?
Well, I think they want him to make a big impact, but I'm curious how much they put on his plate in his very first game because, like I've said before, running backs in this offense, it's not just line up and run. It's line up and run, line up and catch passes, and the route you're running depends on certain looks and certain checks, and more importantly, not more importantly, but as importantly, it's picking up the blitz and blocking. He did that a couple times in preseason. That certainly showed some growth there, but he has not played, and if you don't trust him in that regard, he can't really play in certain situations where you would have to be, in a passing situation, which could certainly, hurt his impact on the team. So we'll see. I think he gets a decent amount of snaps. I'd love to see him get going early in the game, early downs, get some confidence. But Tony Jones Jr., we'll see what else happens with some other guys. But I think this is another game where Taysom Hill becomes a major factor in your run game as well, and not just as a QB power guy. I mean, we saw the tape. They ran the quarterback draw. They ran the zone read where you read the outside guy. They ran the zone read where he reads the inside guy. Successful on both. I love the new wrinkles. They ran QB power. They ran him as a tailback where he caught the pitch. He got a handoff. So I think this is another game where Taysom becomes important. But I am very curious to see how much they trust Kendre Miller and how often can he get on the field today or Sunday against Green Bay.
So we talked Saints. I wanted to hop into the college ranks for a second, as we usually do.
Yep.
LSU versus Arkansas this weekend. We saw LSU dismantle Mississippi State last weekend. Mm-hmm. Do you think they can continue to build on that and take it to Arkansas?
Yeah, I do. I don't think it's going to be as perfect as last week. Last week was an utter dismantling in Starkville. Brian Kelly was so good in terms of articulating the challenges of an 11 a.m. kickoff and articulating what he wants his team to do and how they adjusted things to get ready. It worked. My goodness, did it work. From, starting practice with team drills, team periods earlier to, stopping the bus and halfway through on the trip from wherever they were staying to Starkville and by a car dealership and getting some stretching in. And it worked. And look, offensively with Jaden Daniels, when it all comes together, that's how it looks. Was he like 30 of 35? He was fantastic. I don't know what Mississippi State was doing. I generally don't get into the opponent's lack of whatever when I'm watching LSU, but their lack of coaching and their lack of a plan stood out so badly in this game. How does one receiver get 13 for 13? 13 targets, 13 receptions. At some point, you roll your covers to that guy, right? Didn't happen.
You'd think.
And then that quarterback almost beat LSU last year, and he looked like he's got the weight of the world. It almost looked like they said, okay, you play this certain way. Now we're going to give you a backpack, put 20 pounds of rocks in it, put on your shoulders. Now go play with that. He just looked like it was like information overload. And he was just slow and like the weight of the world was on him. He just did not play free. Nothing like the quarterback we saw last year. And you look at Jaden Daniels, he was on it. He was on point, getting the ball downfield. So I think it translates. I just don't think it's going to be as easy. A, Arkansas I think is a little bit better than Mississippi State. B, they have a better quarterback that's more in tune with what they want to do, although it's not exactly the same. Arkansas almost beat LSU. They caught them at the perfect time. The week after the high of beating Alabama, they caught LSU the next week, and they only won by like 3 points. LSU did. And they had a backup quarterback, Arkansas, so they get their starter back. It is Saturday night. It is Death Valley. Could see this being somewhat close-ish first 2.5, 3 quarters of the game, but I think LSU pulls away late and wins fairly comfortably over Arkansas.
All right, so let's head uptown now, and Tulane at Yulman is taking on Nicholls.
Win the game. Just win the game.
Willie Fritz has said that Michael Pratt is starting this week, so I mean, at that there's really no no worries here for Tulane, huh?
No worries. And look, there's a lot of, I don't say a lot. There's a little bit of chatter of, hey, should he hold him back? Was it conference play starts next week? I say, look, if your guy's healthy, let him play. If your guy's healthy, let him play. And he's healthy, he plays. He's QB1, so if he's healthy to play and he's able to play, you let him play. Tulane, take care of business, do what you have to do, get the win, and then next week conference play begins and keep that train rolling uptown, because I thought it was a nice bounce back effort by them last week. I really did. I thought, they battled against Ole Miss, kind of fell apart out of them really late, played a lot closer than that final score indicated. They bounced back pretty well last week. I like their defense as well. So Tulane, just do what you do. Take care of business.
Regardless of who starts the game, I still think that Kai Horton and maybe even Justin Ibieta still see playing time.
Exactly. And then that's the other thing. It's like, by halftime, you're going to see the other two guys.
No offense to Nicholls.
No, but everyone understands.
Everybody knows the deal.
Yeah, we love Nicholls here. But like Tulane right now is rolling. They're rolling, and it's a step up for Nicholls. So I think Tulane's just going to take care of business.
All right, Sean, any last thoughts as we head into...
No, I'm catching a plane on Saturday. I got to fly into Milwaukee. Then we're going to drive up, stay in Appleton, which is about 20 minutes outside of Green Bay, then go to Green Bay for the game, and then drive back to Milwaukee. It's never quite as easy as it looks when you go to Green Bay, but I'm ready for it. So bring on another football weekend. A lot of good college football games this weekend as well.
Yeah, quite. Hey, Saints looking for that elusive 3-0 start to an NFL season. We're going to get that. We're going to wrap that up for you on Monday when Sean gets back. For him, for me, this has been the Fox at Overtime podcast. We'll catch you guys next time.